Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Thank you for your patience. We had to go find a flag, so thank you for waiting. Would you do the roll call, please?
Mrs. Daly?
Here.
Mrs. Gray? Here. Mrs. Meany? Here. Mrs. Wood?
Here.
Mr. Hill? Here. Dr. Allman?
Here.
Mrs. O'Brien? Mrs. Pecklick? Here. Mr. Richardson?
Here.
Greg Bader? Justin Kern?
All right, we have a quorum. If you could observe the emergency exit signs to the side and also to the rear of this room, please stand to join me in the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do not have an addendum tonight. Everything is included here in the agenda. However, we will be changing some things around tonight. The board has asked for an executive session tonight before the public comment section. The reasons for executive session will be to discuss the two recommendations of the interim to discuss staffing issues on two recommendations of from this interim superintendent. Excuse me, can't talk tonight. And also, when we come back, we will be moving under board business. We will be moving staffing issues. Dr. Zachary will be discussing the athletic director and music department positions prior to the public comment section. So what I'd like to do is have a motion, please, to go into executive session. Is that Michael?
Yes.
Can I have a second, please? Brian? All those in favor, any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. We'll be going into executive session and then we will return to begin to further go on to the meeting. Thank you. 7:05. 7:05 here. We've returned this meeting at 7:41. All right, what I'd like to do now is Dr. Zachary will address the public on some staffing issues. Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. The reason we decided to change the order of our business for this evening is that obviously we understand that there are concerns in the community about recommendations that I make this evening regarding music teacher staffing and staffing of the position of athletic director. So I thought in the interest of trying to at least deal with those proactively before a lot of the questions come, I will try to answer some of those questions in advance for you. As everyone is aware, the school districts around New York State, and certainly perhaps even around the nation, are very much concerned with fiscal issues due to the state's $9 billion projected shortfall. One of the ways that I've been looking at this as I approach the budget development process is to realize that we have to take a long, hard look at staffing. So one of the first things we need to do is we need to take a look at staffing where there are retirements or resignations. In this particular situation, we had a resignation in the music department, and we had a retirement impending of our athletic director. I'll deal with the music department situation first. In taking a look at this position and the necessity for filling the position on a full-time basis, I asked for the building principals to obtain copies of music teacher schedules from each of our three buildings. I asked for those schedules to be specific schedules which gave me period-by-period information on teaching assignments and student load. As a result of the next meeting that I had with members of our administrative staff, I received a recommendation from the two building principals that we could fill the position on a half-time basis this year, and we could look at eliminating the position next year. I was told that there was a possibility that we could eliminate the position for the remainder of this year, but to do so would be very disruptive of student schedules, so it was decided that that was not a viable way to proceed. We had advertised the position already as a full-time music teacher position, and we had applicants who had applied for that position. The administration contacted the applicants and informed the applicants that the position had been reconfigured and would be a half-time position. Obviously, some people who were employed elsewhere opted not to apply for the position, but the administrators still felt that there was a viable slate of candidates. Those candidates were interviewed, and a recommendation was made to me to offer the position to one individual. That is the background on that particular situation. Assuming that the Board of Education accepts that recommendation, that person would begin working on or about January 31st. That person does have experience in marching band activities, but that person would be a beginning teacher at our school district. That person has marching band experience in other school districts in our vicinity. And in our early discussions with the individual, he would also be interested in assuming the position of jazz ensemble instructor. We have not finalized that pending Board of Education approval of the music position. In the area of athletic directorship, I basically proceeded in the same fashion. I analyzed the situation to determine if it would be my recommendation to the Board of Education to fill that position. After careful determination, I decided that I could not recommend the replacement of that position on a full-time basis for the future. Based upon my experience in education, while I recognize the importance of having an athletic director, and obviously it's very important for the responsibilities of the athletic director to be carried out effectively, I discussed the situation with the administration. I told them that it was my intent to eventually assume those responsibilities by having the associate principal at the high school assume the responsibilities of athletic director. With further discussion with the administrative team, it was decided with a lot of the shakeup and issues that are in existence now in the district, it would probably not be advantageous nor advisable to implement that sort of plan immediately. As a result, we considered hiring either an interim athletic director to finish out the school year or an intern. We did not advertise the interim position. We did some informal checking. We also contacted local universities to see if there were available any candidates to serve in an intern capacity. As a result, we located a promising candidate. We contacted that candidate, and that candidate did an interview to the position. The individual comes highly recommended, and we do believe that that person could carry on through the remainder of the year in an intern capacity. I have been asked by some individuals why that situation has to take place in so rapid a form. In other words, why are we rushing this through? Why is there so much secrecy behind it? Believe me, there has been no secrecy behind it. However, it obviously has not been made public from a newspaper or TV or radio basis, media basis. In conversation with the individual that was being recommended for this intern position, he explained to me that he is a teacher in a neighboring school district, an area school district, and that he needed to request leave of absence from his teaching position. He explained to me that his Board of Education only meets once in February, and he He did not want to ask for a leave of absence from his position unless he was assured that his position would be approved here. He asked me if I could fast track it and bring it to the Board of Education this evening, which is why it's on the agenda. That should also explain to you, at least in part, why it was necessary for the Board of Education to be apprised of the situation and my rationale and my decision-making on this particular position, which resulted in tonight's executive session. I have been asked if we consider any other internal candidates. I have discussed this position and possible plans for the future with two internal physical education instructors. I have explained to them my rationale and what the plans could be for the future. If the successful superintendent candidate comes on board and is selected in an early enough time, we would have these discussions to see how that person felt in terms of filling the athletic director position for the ensuing year. There are a couple of options. We might have an option where we could appoint a local internal candidate to be an intern. We, of course, could look outside to fill some sort of a position, but we obviously have to make decisions in our budget development process. It's also possible we could just go with my initial intent, which would be to have the positions of athletic director assumed by the high school administration. I think that essentially covers the issues that were in my mind at the time and explains my recommendations to the Board of Education. I realize there may be many questions. You need to understand I will not answer questions regarding the specific qualifications of any candidate, assumed or actually on staff. I will not compare the qualifications of candidates, but I will try to answer your questions as honestly and straightforwardly as I can, because I realize that this is a very important issue for the community and for the students and for the staff, as well as to the Board of Education. I'm sure I probably forgot something that I wanted to share with you, but I wanted to give you this opportunity then to ask questions. We have with us this evening, unless the board has anything they wish to add at this point, we have with us this evening Mr. Greg Hinman. He is the Assistant Superintendent of BOCES. Bill Speck was not able to be here tonight. Greg, if you would come forward and serve as our moderator in terms of the question and answer period. Mrs. Alley has the list of individuals who would like to speak, and we will answer questions on these two issues as well as other questions you may have on agenda items. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple of housekeeping rules. We'll try to keep you we'd like to take about 5 minutes, no more than 5. If we get close to 5, I'll just give you the high sign. We can let you know that. The other is to keep your comments to agenda items, if you would. I appreciate that. Mary Jo.
First of all, off topic, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming tonight. As you guys know, I pushed you guys to all come to board meetings, and I appreciate you guys all coming out. That's a good turnout tonight. Thank you. Dear Dr. Zacher and member of the school board, and I'm going to read this, and I do have a copy for each of you when I'm done, because there are questions here, and if you can answer them afterwards, that would be great. I'm here tonight to express my concerns with pending decisions on tonight's agenda, and I feel they are being made without complete transparency. Recently, a position was posted for a full-time instrumental music position. According to my conversation with Mary Madonna, many qualified applications were received. The final deadline was January 7th. The position was changed for a full-time position to a half-time long-term sub at that time. I have 2 questions about this chain of events. Question number 1, was the role re-advertised to the public for a half-time long-term sub, as many people may have applied that would be better qualified than the pool willing to take a part-time role after applying for the full-time role? Question number 2, it has been brought to my attention that not all applicants were notified of the change. And how was that decision made to call certain people and not others? And I've received phone calls. Concerned with this, I know of at least 3 people that are in the music field that would have applied for the position if they knew it was a part-time, long-term sub-position. Highly qualified people that would have continued to do great things with the public or with the program, who were both certified and had master's degrees. By going from a full-time to a part-time, you took many qualified, certified, and master degree teachers out of the mix. I know of at least 5 people myself that truly wanted the position and would have continued to make this program what it has been in the past and move it forward to where it needs to go again. Many of them were alumni of the school district who wanted to come back, even with knowing what was going on, and give back to where they came from and where they give credit to. Why is it that a #1 choice for the role as a part-time person selected by the music staff, parent representatives, and student representatives was not even chosen to come back for the ability to conduct as the final part of the interview process? And why again did we hire a young adult fresh out of college with no master's degree to teach our musicians and inexperienced recent graduate teaching students? Is this the reality of the fact that due to the fact that you are going to remove this position altogether and only have 2 current instrumental music teachers to run grades 4 through 12 for instrumental and general music? And I will give the current position, if you do hire him, that opportunity I've already promised. What is your plan? What is the budget? Where is the music audit, and what does it say? Those were questions I emailed to Dr. Zacher as well as the rest of the board, and I've yet to get a response. Why? The Jordan-Elbridge Marching Eagles are a well-known marching program with the longest recording record in New York State Field Band Conference. They are also the 2nd most awarded program in New York State. What is your plan with the budget as regards to this program? This is something we need to know now, as the JE Band Boosters already fundraises and includes a student assessment to march currently. The amount of money they raise in some shape or form is in the range of $65,000. We have to know how much the budget will impact this program, so we can plan accordingly to ensure the program does not fall apart for those 70+ kids that participate. The position you originally posted was to include the field band director. Does the part-time position take responsibility for that as well? Do note, parade season starts in May. For us to begin practicing for the Jordan-Elbridge Memorial Day parades, who is running that program? Did you know that most marching bands, with the help of their directors, are already working with their music writers and drill writers for the upcoming field band season, which makes JE behind the fall season planning already? Are we going to have a marching band, and who will be that director? Dr. Zacher, this is for you. I want to tell you a little bit about this marching band program. I've expressed in emails before. I have been a part of this marching band program since 1985. I was a member. I was also a staff member. I didn't like to participate in sports. I am not a go-getter, and I was not at the top of my class. But because of the marching band, I became somebody. I became a person that could reach a goal. Became a part of a group that brings all types of students together, from the top of the class to the bottom. Didn't matter what ability you had. Which group in this school reaches more students than another? Yes, it's the marching band. This group is a one-of-a-kind group. The parents and students are contacted even after years to come. They keep in touch with their staff members. I still, to this day, even last night, had a color guard member call me to update on her new arrival of her child. And that's been added because she was so excited to tell me. I taught those students, and they still contact me to this day. Dr. Zacher, I would like to have an opportunity for you to sit with the alumni, the current band members, staff members, and parents to learn more about this great organization before you make any budget decisions. You should watch our tapes and hear our stories firsthand. I hope you will consider my invitation. Thank you for listening.
Good evening. My name is Dave Zahner. I live over on Stevens Road. I'd like to talk to you about policy 3220 to start with. I believe it's on the agenda. The open meeting law is based on the legislative belief that to maintain a democratic society, it is essential to have these three things: that the public business be performed in an open and public manner, that the citizens be fully aware of and able to observe the performance of public officials, and that citizens be able to listen to the deliberations and decisions that go into making the public policy. All of you violated that tonight. Your executive session tonight did not discuss specific personnel, but rather staffing, which is not covered by executive session. We all had the right to sit here and listen to your conversation that Dr. Zacher just gave to us. We were allowed to hear that. You have no exemption for that. Sorry. According to the legislature, that is the only climate under which a government process will be able to operate for the benefit of those who create it. U.S. Supreme Court Justice Brandeis said, "Sunlight is said to be the best of disinfectants." In this day and age, practically no one disagrees with these fundamental principles. Right-thinking people understand that the light of day promotes democracy and good government, while secrecy and darkness is the breeding ground for abuse and distrust. Unfortunately, this board and you, Mr. Zacher, are sad exceptions to this common belief. Very disappointed at what happened tonight. That should have been public comment. Policy 3220. As I have stated previously in meeting, Policy 3220 is fine the way it is written. My issue is with the current interpretation. The notion that the public is only allowed to speak about what the board deems appropriate is preposterous. When the board was not abusing its authority, the public input at meetings was minimal. In fact, most meetings had no public input at all. Over the past year, starting with the budget meeting last spring, I've witnessed this board try at least a half dozen different methods to squash the public's right to speak at these meetings. The latest being the banning of all speech on topics that are not on the agenda. And of course, it is the board that controls the agenda. In a properly learned meeting, the public is allowed to speak their mind, and that portion of the meeting is then over. This usually takes only a few minutes. Please stop telling us how to behave when it is your behavior that is the cause of the current situation. Mrs. Foote, you continually want to insert the word regular in front of the word meeting in Policy 3220. The reason for this is to reduce the number of meetings at which the public may speak. Let me ask you a question. Do you really want to stop the public from speaking? It's on the agenda. You're allowed to respond.
Keep going.
You're not responding to any questions anymore? You're not responding to any questions? Nobody's responding to any questions? Because at the last meeting, we were told we couldn't speak unless it was a question. Now you're just going to all sit there pointing at the wall behind you? That's exciting. Let's go on to the athletic director. At the September 1st meeting, this board accepted the resignation of Associate Principal, Director of Health and Physical Education, and Athletic Director Brad Hamer. At that time, Mrs. Dalla, you told the assembled audience that you received more interest in being on the search committee for the new AD than for the new superintendent. Now, 141 days later, this board before it had a resolution to appoint an intern AD from outside the district without so much as placing an ad in the paper or posting an internal vacancy. It makes the public wonder, whose friend are you hiring this time? Eliminating a halftime music position. The board has before tonight a resolution to essentially eliminate a halftime music position. I can only assume that this is financial reasons, as you told us. The cost of a halftime, half-year music teacher is approximately $12,000. Since the budget was adopted last spring, this board has added $10,000 to Ms. Van Nino's salary, still haven't told us why. Added 2 civil service positions, filled the secretarial position that was scheduled to go unfulfilled, and ordered a forensic audit at the cost of up to $30,000. None of these positions have a direct student contact, like a music teacher does. Can the superintendent or any board member explain how this is in the best interest of the students? I guess not.
Wow, thanks.
Let's talk about some real cost savings for a second. If you want to save the district some real money, you want to save $1 million? Okay, thanks for speaking. If you want to save the district real money, I have a solution for you. Return Mr. Hamilton to work and let Ms. Van Minos go as Director of Operations. That will save $88,000 plus benefits.
You're talking about personnel.
No, I'm talking about positions.
No, you're
Director of
talking about
Operations.
personnel. And you're talking about...
Return to Ms. Shu to a building principal position, eliminate the least senior administrative position, saving $85,000. Return myself to the principal position that will eliminate the need for an interim principal and save the district another $70,000. Have Ms. Gordon do the job of special education director that she was hired to do 6 years ago. Instead of hiring a special education director, that would save an additional $80,000. Finally, ask Ms. Dominic to return. I understand that she offered to do so at a salary of $30,000 a year, saving us $120,000.
Dave,
I will, as soon as I'm done.
Dave, it's 5 minutes. Dave, no, we're not giving out minutes.
This plan would result in $443,000 savings, plus another $100,000. This would save the district over $1 million. $1 million in savings. It's abominable. According to policy 1512, each one of you can ask that this consent agenda be removed. Please do so.
I can speak at a public meeting. Please, within reason. I happen to have with me a copy of the Constitution of the United States and the First Amendment. I'm allowed to speak. It's true. Can we assume that other people can now take their place as board members and vote possibly correctly?
We have a bigger No. This tells you something right here without having enough It's only been 25 minutes. Is somebody else going to speak?
We've got 3 board members. There's other people that want to be heard. Call the next person.
You guys, just everybody sit down and wait a minute, okay? I understand we're all upset right now. I agree. But just like I did at public meeting 3 months ago, let's wait a minute. Let's everybody calm down. This right here should say something. That those 3 board members stay put. Whoever, look again, who stayed put? Give them a minute, they'll come back. Thank you to those board members staying put.
What we will do, everyone will remain calm, give them a couple minutes, we'll go out and bring them back. Okay?
We can't. We're not a majority. There's only 3 of us. Okay? We have to have a minute taker. We have to have just wait. We have to
Let them talk.
minutes. We have to have someone to keep the minutes. Let us have some people.
Yeah, he felt better this morning. He was a little coffee this morning, but not bad. So he said his sleep he was a bit better. Yeah, we gave him food last night and just sat on the couch and blanking out. Yeah, sorry about the late notice. I left work a little early, so I didn't have time to get him there. She was supposed to be last minute, so she went to the grocery. She got some like order up, and I was like, then she goes, I can't go. I'm like, are you kidding? I did print up the book, so I can.
No, because my lawyer wants me to have the reason why you're kicking me out on tape. Go ahead. Tell me why on tape.
To be taped. Step out or you're subject to arrest.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. You're going to arrest me if I don't leave a public meeting at which I asked to speak.
That's correct.
Which I'm a resident and had every right to speak by all the policies that they have. Correct? I just want to make sure we're correct on that. This is silly, and you know it. But I know it's your job. I'm not going to give you a hard time. I know
I'd
it's.
like to have a conversation with you.
That's okay. It's not you I have a problem with. It's them. They've removed me from my job for no reason. They're costing me hundreds of thousands of dollars of legal bills, and I'm not allowed to speak. No, I forgot my coat. Sorry. It's cold. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Yeah, see you later.
Bye.
Sorry I messed up your meeting. I'm sorry about that.